Shai, you guys have made strides as a team throughout the playoffs, even the days in between games. Do you feel that here over the last few days that you guys are continuing to get better as you head into this next challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. Every practice, every off day, every game day in itself is an opportunity to get better. I think this team's done a really good job of maximizing those days and using them to get better, and that's why we are where we are.
You, as a team, over the playoff run, have faced different kind of heads of the snake guys, from Morant to Jokic and Edwards. How do you view Halliburton maybe in comparison to some of those guys, and in the way that as a team you'll have to try to all five defend his playmaking, what he does?
Yeah, at the end of the day, every team has a few guys that are their best players, are their main engines, and get the ball rolling for them. And those guys have strengths, and those guys have things that they're, I guess you can say, less comfortable doing. And the better the guys are, the harder it is to do so. But if you want to win, you have to be able to make those guys play in the things that they're less comfortable doing. And that's what the task always is, no matter who it is. Like the guys you just named, all of those guys, you try to go out there and make them do the things that they're less comfortable doing, and it's no different for him.
You guys played them last in March. That's 2 months ago. Where do you think how they changed since then, since the last time you played them?
I don't think they changed much. I think they were a really good team back then. They were on a roll back then. And they're on a roll now. I think I saw something like since January, us and them have the best records in the NBA. And they've been playing good basketball, so I don't think much has changed. They're going to be a tough opponent regardless. They were tough in March, and they'll be tough come Thursday.
When the team, they've got some guards that can score. You guys think a matchup like that, do you approach it first from a defensive mindset first and foremost? Like they've got Halliburton, you got you, and Nembhard, some of the other guys coming off the bench. How do you approach a matchup like that from an offensive standpoint, defense first?
Defense first. It's always defense first. If we're able to buckle down defensively, we can take care of the offensive side, and it also allows us to play more in our strengths offensively. But defense is always where it starts. Defense helps you win games, no matter the environment, no matter the team, no matter the personnel. Like if you get stops, you give yourselves a chance. So that it always starts there for us.
All right. So 2 parts here. Number one, what stands out to you about Indiana and how they push the tempo and why they're so good at it? And then the second part of it would be how comfortable are you guys running? Because you guys are pretty good at running too. They're maybe a little better known for it, but you guys run just as well.
Yeah, they play fast. They're stubborn in the way they play. They play like that no matter the game, no matter the environment, no matter the round or stage. They play to their identity, and that's why they've been really good. They impose their will on the team. Now it's just about us being able to impose our will, and that's what it always comes down to. No matter if it's game 41 or it's game 91, like the team that wins is the team that imposes their will and has their imprint on the game more, and that's what it's going to come down to.
Shai, Mark was talking yesterday about kind of the importance of those 20-ish win seasons that you guys went through a few years ago in terms of laying the foundation for what you are today. Would you agree with that? And in what ways do you think those struggles help get you guys to where you are today?
Yeah, they're humbling. They also help you with, like Coach said, building foundation, but like building habits. Building the things kind of you don't really see every night, like things that don't really show up in the stat sheet. Like Coach has always been really good on like his standard of how we play and the things that matter, no matter who's on the team, no matter what our record is. And then naturally, as the team's gotten better talent-wise, we've had those things in place and have been able to take strides because of that. So yeah, those days were very, very important for sure.
Shai, I know when AC brought his 2020 ring to the locker room, it sort of started with him maybe like showing it off, and then it became like guys being curious about it. What do you remember being curious about in regards to the ring, his journey, and what, in terms of his message, has stuck with you to this point and is maybe resurfacing this week?
I don't remember much about it, to be honest, besides it being like a very nice ring. A lot of diamonds in it. It was cool. But yeah, AC's message has always been like, AC's been very good at understanding like playing for a bigger picture and playing for like what we're trying to achieve and not playing for the moment. Like not worrying about who we're playing on game 32. If we're up 15, but not playing to our standard, he's holding us to it. He's been really good with that all year, and I think that mentality has definitely helped us get here to this point.
And I don't know if you saw it, but the other night, Miles Turner, after they won, was just kind of like half jokingly saying that both of these teams are they're run off like the power of friendship. I just wonder if this is the closest team you've been part of, and how that maybe has translated to the growth and gotten you guys to this point.
Yeah, we've been as close as you can be as a basketball team. Guys are connected at the hip everywhere we go. We do everything together on and off the court. But above all, we all like prioritize winning and enjoy each other's company. And I think it's organic, so I don't think it's anything like forced. It's just who we are and the personnel in this basketball team. And even the guys that have come into the fold have been team first guys and guys that are easy to get along with. So I think it's just like organically happened that way. Something I don't take for granted. You never know how many times you get to play for a team like this, especially when basketball becomes a business and not just a kid running around. So yeah, it's special, and you try to cherish these moments no matter what's going on, wins or losses, or you try to just embrace the journey, embrace the opportunity.
Yeah, Shai, talking to AC and talking about you and not comparing, but talking about similarities between you and LeBron, you mentioned how the thing that y'all most have similar with each other is the habits that you guys create coming into the building every single day, and don't get too high, don't get too low, and no matter what, that you guys are doing things the right way. Where did that for you start in coming into the building, not getting too high, not getting too low, making sure you're coming in with the same habits every single day?
As a kid, I used to be very emotional. I used to be very high and very low, and I was all over the place, basketball-wise, because of it. And I learned just throughout my career and throughout life that like there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be lefts and rights, and the more you can stay even-keeled, the more you can control what you can control and worry about what's next, is the better off you'll be, no matter what you're feeling in the moment. And then I just try to carry that out throughout my career, throughout my life, and it's worked for me so far.
How much of that do you try to impress on your teammates?
I don't really try to press that on them. I just like am who I am, and lead by example, and I guess the success and everything else allows them to, I guess, gravitate to it naturally and follow it. But I think that's the biggest thing with leadership. Like, I don't try to force it on anybody. I just am who I am and try to lead by example.
You talked about the team that's able to impose their will, the team is most likely to be successful. How does a team do that, especially at this level?
You have to. It's gonna sound very like. It's gonna sound like not rocket science and not special, but like you just have to like impose your will more. Like you just have to. I don't know how to describe that. You just have to like. If they want to get to this spot, you have to beat them to the spot. If they want to cut back door, you have to make sure they don't cut back door. If they want to be beat you to a screen, you have to beat them to the screen. Like, you just have to take them out of their comfort zone and play in your comfort zone. And they're going to try to do the same thing to you, but whoever does it more, whoever plays in their comfort zone more, usually comes out the successor.
Is that something that you learned through experience, especially going through the playoffs, or is that something innate?
Yeah, it's definitely something I learned through experience, just playing through these games, watching these games. My whole 7-year career so far, that's been the common denominator in winning teams and winning games.
You can go Joel for the last one.
Shai, you said that sort of inflection point for you was when you learned how to channel your emotions and no longer be emotional. Who or what sort of helped you hone your emotions, so to say?
One of my coaches in high school. I used to be a kid that would get mad and throw the ball around the court over a pickup game or a dumb possession, like if I get fouled and it didn't get called or anything like that. And I just he just taught me that above all, he taught me that the older you get, the less you get away with things like that. And you're not like a kid anymore, and real life consequences come into play. And then he also just showed me that to be the guy that I want to be. I was the best player on the team at the time, but to be the guy that I want to be on a basketball team in the NBA, whatever it is, that I can't behave like that because it'll translate to the rest of my team. And as my team goes up and down, so will I, and so will the rest of the guys, and it'll be hard for us to sustain whatever it is we're trying to do. And that lesson just always stuck with me, and I guess I've taken it every step of the way.
And so, quick follow-up. Since you learned to filter out those emotions, where do they go now? Where does the anger go? Where does the sadness go? Where do they go?
I still have it. I still feel it. I just understand. I just understand not to let it show, and kind of weaponize it for myself. Showing that also gives your opponent a weapon as well. So the more that I can be, I guess you could say, even kill through whatever's going on, the less they know what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, and ultimately gives me an advantage.
Lou, you guys seem like have progressed throughout the playoffs. You're a better team now than you were at the beginning of the playoffs. How have you managed to do that when you've had kind of problems in front of you in terms of an opponent night in and night out, and managed to still work on yourselves?
Yeah, I would say we learning and growing. Between those games, it's high intensity games, and then teams that have thrown a lot of different stuff at us. We won some, we lost some, and then I feel like we just grew out of that, and we got better. I mean, we know what type of team we are, and we still got challenged with different stuff, but we were still able to fight through those challenges and be where we are right now. So, like I said, we just grew from all those games.
I know Tyrese Halliburton's a guy that you see a little bit less frequently than some of the guys in the West that are some of your primary assignments. But what maybe makes him unique, and what are some of the things that you're sort of excited to dig into in terms of the times that you're guarding him?
Yeah, he's a good player. He's their main guy. Obviously, he has the ball a lot. So my main thing, the way I approach any matchup is, I just got to make everything tough. It's not only me, it's the whole team. But at the same time, a guy like that can really get going. You just got to throw a lot of stuff at him and make everything tough. And that's our thing.
If you were to go back 3 or 4 years and able to look forward to the type of player you are now, what would you say has probably been the biggest area you've grown in, especially on the defensive side?
Just to be more consistent, honestly, and that's overall my whole game. Defensively, I know what I can bring to the team, and then if if I do my job at a high level, we will put ourselves. I'll put my team in a great position to win a game. So that's always been my approach, and I feel like I've gone better on that end just based on watching film and playing more games.
To be one of those players who has brought a little bit of shine back to the defensive side of the ball and make it a revamp or be an important thing in the league. What does that mean to you?
Honestly, I'm happy and glad that people see it that way. The way I see it is just to go out there and compete and play hard and do what I do best. We emphasize a lot that side of the floor here, so it's not just me. It's a lot of guys on this team. But my thing is, as soon as I noticed something that I could do to be on the floor and have some play time, it was my defense, and then since that I just stayed at it, and then it went well for me.
At what point, you're Arizona State, you scored Arizona State, but as defensive people knew you by, what point did you know that, hey, I can really make a difference defensively first, I guess?
At that point, I kind of knew it. I was really good with my feet. Remember in college when I used to have the ball a lot more, but I always used to guard the other team's best player. So I always knew that I had it. And then when I got here, it was a plan with the coaching staff, and especially when I was with the Blue, and then they kind of laid out what is some of the stuff that I could do to have some playing time and have a chance to have to play with the Thunder regular. So that was a big part, and then like I said, I just really got better at this.
Which gets you more charged, 25 points, or shutting down a really good offensive player, saying hold him to below his average, 10 points or whatever?
I'll say both.
If you got to choose, I guess if you had to choose, which one are they both equal, or which one gets you more?
As long as we win, I'll be happy with that. But I know, like I said, I know that every time I win my matchup and I hold the other team's best player to a low-scoring game, we have our best chance to win the game, and it makes me and the whole team happy.
Lou, Mark was talking yesterday about kind of the importance of those 20-ish win seasons, laying the foundation for kind of what this team is today. When you look back on those tough years, in what ways for you, for the team, do you think it did that it built kind of what you are right now?
We've seen the tough days, honestly. It was not fun to go out there and losing a game by 20 or whatever, and losing that many games in a row and all that. So I feel like this, for me on my end, it was more like fuel and motivation, and honestly knowing that this is not where we want to be in the league. We want to try our best to win the most games that we can win, and like I said, we've just been through a tough time, and that just builds us and motivates us to do better. And I feel like, throughout all those years, and even the years that we got better, it's always been in the back of our heads, and knowing that we want to achieve something big.
Yeah, so Lou, there's a lot of teams out there trying to run, but a lot of teams don't run as well as Indiana does. What stands out to you as what makes them good at it?
They have a lot of guys that can rebound the ball and push the ball. They're very unselfish the way they pass the ball and then move the ball. So that's I would say that they have so many guys like that can do it, and then they're really willing to pass the ball and run the floor, which is it's a big part of why they had a huge success.
Yeah, Lou, you and Benedict both talked about what that relationship means to you guys, growing up together, all the battles that you guys had playing against each other growing up. What is this moment like to share that experience with him? Obviously, you wanting to beat him, and he probably wants to beat you. But what's it like for you guys' town to have two guys from the same place?
Yeah, it'll be huge for Montreal, especially Montreal North. Like I said, we two NBA players that's from there, and then most of the people back home cheer for one of either Indiana or OKC. So it's big for the basketball world in Montreal. The people that enjoy it will watch, two kids from Montreal and in the finals, which will be huge. So we proud to be on that stage, but obviously only one of us gonna get the job done. But at the end of the day, Montreal's gonna be happy.
Have you guys talked about it recently?
No.
Anything else?
With so much talk about you guys' defense, you personally and the team as a whole, you find a little bit strange. You're fourth in offense rating. Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, ourselves as well. We unselfish. We move the ball a lot. I mean, we have one of the best offensive player in the game. But just the way that we approach every game, we're really aggressive on that end of the floor. I mean, we know that our defense is going to give us a lot of juice on that end of the floor too, and being able to play fast. But we real unselfish. We move the ball, and then we're always trying to look to take the right shots, and we've been doing a good job of that too. That's why we rank where we at right now.
Opponent is. I know you guys are focused mainly on yourselves, but how have you felt you guys progress through these few days here now that you know your opponent here?
Yeah, 2 good days of practice. I'd say, like I said yesterday, mostly focused on us and our fundamentals, but starting to get kind of an introduction to Indiana and a sense of how they play, how they want to play. Not super deep yet. We try to do that as we get closer to the game so that we're not creating too much distance, but the guys did a great job the last couple of days.
We had talked to J-Dub yesterday, and one of the things that he just kind of said that challenges are fun, and approaching these sort of adversities that you guys have had throughout the season, throughout the postseason, is something that it's a fun challenge to go through. When you hear a guy say something like that, it feels like that's a mentality that all of these guys have. How rare is that, or encouraging to hear that?
It's encouraging. I don't know how rare it is, but you can see challenges as an opportunity or as a threat, and these guys do a great job of seeing challenges as opportunities. I think they enjoy competing. Competing is hard. It tests you, but you'd rather be competing this time of year than not. And so I think they keep that in perspective and just try to attack every hurdle and throw our best punch and see what happens.
Typically, when you've had these long layoffs, you haven't even known your opponent yet, and this is the first time you've gotten to have 4 or 5 days. How do you avoid going too far into the weeds in your preparation?
Yeah, I mean, we try to discipline ourselves not to do that. We certainly don't want an overthinking team, in game one. And so we're trying to strike that balance. That said, with these teams that are in the Eastern Conference, we're a little less familiar with them than we would be with a Western Conference opponent. Teams like Denver, we've played so many times over the last couple of years because they're a division team. Minnesota is a team that we were, pretty familiar with. So Indiana, we've played obviously and played relatively recently, but we just don't have the volume against them or them us. So it's probably a little bit more introduction needed, but we try to err on the side of less, to be honest with you.
You guys are very similar. They like to play fast. You guys like to play fast. They don't turn the ball over a lot. You guys don't turn the ball over. Like when you're trying to scheme up things, go against a team like that that's very similar to you guys, what are the things that you can do to make sure you can control the things that you like doing but they also like doing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it just comes down to us playing our way, which I actually think is one of the great strengths of Indiana, is like they play to their identity regardless of circumstance and regardless of who they're playing against. You can tell they're playing up against their own standard, and the opponent just happens to be who's standing in front of them. I think that's the ideal. That's what I think any good team does. It's what we try to do. And then the games will happen, and the games will determine who comes out on top on some of those things. But a lot of it's just trying to be who we are, and double down on that. Not worry too much about how the opponent changes that, but get our stuff into the game, and then obviously we'll adjust and adapt to what the series throws at us. But at least initially, we're trying to make sure we establish kind of our baseline, so to speak.
Mark, Boston built a championship team behind long, versatile guys that can do a whole bunch of different things. You have kind of a similar team. Indiana is similar in some ways. Over the years, how much of a priority has it been in kind of finding those types of guys that have a lot of versatility?
Yeah, I think it's one thing that Sam's done a great job of from the beginning. You know, when we were building, you don't know what the team's going to look like when it's fully formed, you know, or when it's ready to like win or compete. And so versatility kind of keeps your options open longer. And he certainly prioritized that, as you could see in his roster building. There is room for guys that are more specialist, you know, single position players or like really potent, skilled players. But having the versatility on the roster allows us to bend and you know, adapt to the opponent, bend and adapt to our circumstances with injuries or roster. And it also allows us to develop players, you know, because you can get a lot of guys out there and you're not having to fit, you know, puzzle pieces into a very narrow, you know, thing. So we've certainly benefited from that. It's obviously a huge advantage for any team that can do that. But I do think a lot of the teams in the league now are prioritizing that. And I think a lot of the players coming in, you know, if you look at the draft every year, these guys are just more multi-dimensional than they've ever been.
Kind of expand on it. You got a lot of players who started here, but, you know, for whatever reason or elsewhere, they're on NBA teams. Is that a situation where maybe they fit one profile offensively but not defensively, or vice versa? You know, are those situations like that where, because they're going to play in the league, but you didn't keep them, those kind of deals?
I think, you know, the roster turnover is just a natural part of the NBA. You know, I think it's systematic to a degree. You can't keep everybody forever. Some of it is opportunity and fit. Some of it is timing. Some of it's other circumstances. But what we try to do is just make sure we're maximizing the development of every player that's here, regardless of the circumstance that they're here or how long they're here. That gives us the best sense of understanding who they are. I don't think there's many guys that have left here that we've been surprised by what they're doing, even if they've had success. You know, like guys like Trey Mann that started the season really well. Like, we weren't really surprised by what we were seeing. You know, like he showed a lot of flashes of that here. Guys like Bradley, you know, in Indiana, was here. Ty Jerome was here. I mean, those guys, you know, they've obviously had success and found success. We're happy for them. We're proud that they came through the program. But we try to figure out, you know, what they are when they're here. And, you know, sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, you're not going to have everybody forever. But we're happy for them when they do well. And we haven't really been caught off guard by something somebody's done since they left.
And also, this is finals. It's another round, but it's the NBA finals. Do you talk to you guys at all about, hey, keeping things even keeled? Do they naturally do that? I mean, because you're 4 wins away from a championship.
Yeah, I think there's some things that are different. You know, we're going to practice tomorrow, or when is it, Wednesday? We're going to practice Wednesday at the arena, and there's going to be 100 people, you know, at the last 45 minutes of practice. And trying to pretend that that's the exact same would be foolish on our part. I mean, that's going to feel a lot different. And we've tried to define that, and then we've also tried to define what's the same. And what's the same is when the ball goes up in the air. What that game's going to come down to will be the exact same. You know, the air around it, the noise around it, the stakes, all those things feel differently. But, you know, when you step over the line, it's going to be the same game, and the same things are going to win and lose the game. And you have to be able to cut through all the things that are different and all the distractions to get yourself fully present and ready to compete. And that's our challenge. That's Indiana's challenge.
Mark, often with opponent preparation, you talk about archetypes of players, and it seems like maybe that's kind of the part of the proceedings that you're at right now with the guys in terms of defining archetypes within Indiana. How do you view Tyrese Halliburton, just given maybe, you know, you've seen some head of the snake guards here so far in the playoffs, and Morant and Edwards, but you've also seen, you know, Jokic, who's such a dynamic passer and playmaker for his team. How do you view Halliburton in comparison maybe to those guys?
He's pretty unique. You know, there's guys similar to him, but he's pretty unique. You know, the transition catalyst that he is definitely unique. He does a great job of activating his teammates in transition with pace and advanced passing. He's a dynamic pick and roll player. that can make every pick and roll pass. He generates great pace in the pick and roll game, which puts teams behind the ball against him. And he can score, as I mentioned yesterday. I think the passing, because he's so because he activates his team so much, I think the passing gets a lot of shine, but it's created by his threat as a scorer and his gravity as a scorer. If you didn't have to honor him as a scorer, he wouldn't be as effective as a passer, or he wouldn't have the same opportunities to create. And so there's a reason, they are where they are. There's a reason he's where he is. We have great respect for them, certainly for him, and they're a tall task to try to handle on both ends of the floor.
We can go last one to Daniel Bell.
Yeah, Shai was talking about how, excuse me, how he keeps his emotions intact because he doesn't really want the opponent to know what he's thinking. Do you have that same type of mindset, not necessarily for the opponent, but for your team? You don't want them not to say you don't want to know you don't want them to know what you're thinking, but you don't want them to see you get too upset with the call or too high, too low. Do you have that similar mindset as Shai?
Yeah, but it's less strategic. It's more just trying to. Our job when we're coaching the game is to make the next best decision, and there's always another decision to make. It's just a constant stream of decisions in the moment and thinking ahead to managing the game, managing substitutions, adjusting to what the opponent's doing, figuring out how you want to attack them, figuring out how they're trying to attack you, and so your mind's always going. And I just try to stay as present as possible in that process, so that the next decision I'm making is clear-eyed, and however that looks, it looks. But that's what I'm trying to do.
With Shai being that way on the court, does it make it easier for you?
Yeah, I mean the game's emotional when you're playing it, and so somebody that has the command over their emotions the way he does, I think has number one. It sets a great tone in the game because he's just playing the next play, and he remains very consistent regardless of inconsistencies in circumstance. And I also think it's very contagious when you have a guy that's got that kind of gravity and talent within your own team that stays that even. I think it makes it it pacifies the emotions of everybody else, and so he deserves a lot of credit for the confidence and the poise that we've been able to develop collectively because he brings those traits to the table.